Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham lost this match 3 weeks ago. They just didn't know it yet. The blueprint has been public for months, the solution ignored, and the punishment inevitable. There is a difference between tactical identity and tactical imprisonment. Postecoglou has built his entire Tottenham project on a singular principle. We play one way, regardless of opponent, regardless of circumstance, regardless of consequence. That philosophy carried beauty and bravery when it worked. Tonight, it carried nothing but predictability. Liverpool did not win this match through moments of brilliance. They won it through preparation. Through understanding that Tottenham would offer the same defensive line, the same forward press, the same territorial aggression they have shown in every single match this season. There was no adjustment coming. There was no plan B waiting. There was only the repetition of a system that refuses to bend, even when breaking becomes the obvious alternative. The problem was not effort. Tottenham ran. They pressed. They committed bodies forward with the same relentless energy that has defined their season. But energy without adaptation is simply exhaustion wearing a different name. Liverpool's front line understood this. They understood that Tottenham's defensive line would push high regardless of the scoreline, regardless of the threat posed by pace and behind, regardless of how many times they had been punished for this exact decision in previous matches. This was not a match decided by individual errors. This was a match decided by systematic vulnerability. When a team plays with a defensive line consistently positioned 30 yards from their own goal, they are making a choice. They are choosing to defend space behind them with speed and recovery rather than caution and compactness. That choice works when your defenders are faster than the opposition's attackers. It fails when they are not. Liverpool possessed the pace required to exploit that space repeatedly. Tottenham possessed the ideology that refused to close it. What makes this defeat significant is not the result itself. Tottenham have lost matches before. They will lose matches again. What makes this significant is the confirmation that the system will not evolve to prevent those losses. Postecoglou has drawn a line. On one side stands tactical flexibility, pragmatic adjustment, and the willingness to modify approach based on opponent profile. On the other side stands philosophical purity, unwavering commitment to style, and the acceptance that certain defeats are the cost of maintaining identity. He has chosen the second path. That choice is neither right nor wrong in absolute terms, but it is consequential. It means Tottenham will continue to play matches where their defensive structure invites the exact kind of attack that hurt them tonight. It means their fans must accept that thrilling victories and preventable defeats are two sides of the same coin. It means rival managers now possess a template. If you have pace, if you can stretch play vertically, if you can execute quick transitions, Tottenham will give you opportunities. The psychological dimension of this defeat runs deeper than the immediate disappointment. Postecoglou's players have been asked to maintain faith in a system that exposes them. That is a difficult request when the exposure feels avoidable. Defenders are being asked to hold a line that leaves them vulnerable to exactly the type of runs that defeated them tonight. They are being asked to trust that their speed and positioning will cover spaces that, logically, should not exist in the first place. At some point, that trust fractures, not through rebellion, but through hesitation. Players begin to second-guess. They hold their position a fraction longer than they should. They check their shoulder one extra time. They carry the memory of being beaten in behind, and that memory creates doubt. Doubt creates mistakes. Mistakes create defeats. The cycle reinforces itself. Liverpool recognized this. Their movement was not chaotic. It was calculated. They ran into spaces they knew would be available because those spaces are always available against Tottenham. This was not opportunism. This was exploitation of a known pattern. When a team advertises their defensive approach this openly, they remove the element of surprise. Everything becomes predictable. Predictability is fatal at elite level. There is a narrative that will emerge from this match. Liverpool were simply better. They were sharper, hungrier, more clinical. That narrative is comforting because it frames the defeat as a matter of quality rather than choice. But quality was not the decisive factor tonight. Choice was. Tottenham chose to defend in a manner that maximized their vulnerability to Liverpool's greatest strength. Liverpool accepted that invitation and executed accordingly. The tragedy of tactical stubbornness is that it masquerades as principle. Postecoglou will frame his unwillingness to adjust as loyalty to philosophy, as courage under pressure, as refusal to abandon the identity he has worked to build. And there is truth in that framing. He is not wrong to want his team to have a clear style. He is not wrong to believe in proactive football. He is wrong to believe that maintaining that style requires ignoring its systematic flaws. Adaptation is not betrayal. A lower defensive line against pacey opponents does not destroy your identity. It protects it. It allows your philosophy to survive long enough to be expressed in matches where the risk is manageable. But that requires accepting that football is contextual, that different opponents demand different solutions, and that the same approach will not work every week. Postecoglou has rejected that acceptance. He has decided that Tottenham will be defined by consistency of method rather than consistency of result. That decision has aesthetic value. It creates a clear identity. It gives his team a recognizable pattern of play. But it also creates a ceiling. That ceiling is visible now. It exists at the point where tactical purity meets tactical naivety, where brave football becomes reckless football, and where opponents stop respecting your approach and start exploiting it. Liverpool did not need to be exceptional tonight. They simply needed to be aware. Aware of where the space would appear. Aware of when to trigger their runs. Aware that Tottenham would continue offering the same defensive picture regardless of how many times it broke down. That awareness, combined with the pace to capitalize on it, was sufficient. The broader consequence of this defeat is its repeatability. This was not a unique circumstance. This was not a one-time tactical mismatch. This was a demonstration of a pattern that will recur every time Tottenham face opponents with speed and directness. Arsenal will see this. Manchester City will see this. Every team with quick forwards and coaches willing to study film will see this. The template is established. The solution is available. The question is whether Tottenham will adjust before enough teams exploit it to derail their season entirely. There is also the question of what this means for Postecoglou's long-term position. English football has a limited tolerance for beautiful defeats. Fans appreciate style, but they demand substance. If the high line continues to be bypassed with this level of ease, if the same defensive vulnerability continues to produce the same result, patience will erode. Not immediately, not dramatically, but gradually, through the accumulation of matches that felt winnable but ended in disappointment. The most dangerous thing for Postecoglou is not that his system failed tonight. Systems fail. The dangerous thing is that his system failed in exactly the way everyone predicted it would fail. There was no surprise, no unexpected breakdown, no freak occurrence that could be dismissed as bad luck. This was the natural consequence of a deliberate tactical choice, executed precisely as designed and punished exactly as anticipated. When failure becomes predictable, it stops being acceptable. Tottenham's defensive approach is now predictable. The space behind their line is predictable. The type of attack that will hurt them is predictable. And as long as Postecoglou refuses to adjust, the results will remain predictable as well. This creates a paradox. Postecoglou's greatest strength, his unwavering commitment to a clear philosophy, has become his greatest weakness. The same stubbornness that gave Tottenham their identity is now limiting their potential. The same high line that creates their attacking opportunities is now creating their defensive crises. The same principles that made them exciting are now making them exploitable. Liverpool understood this paradox and played accordingly. They did not try to outplay Tottenham in possession. They did not need to. They simply needed to wait for the inevitable moment when Tottenham's defensive line would push forward, when space would open behind them, and when pace could be deployed into that space. That moment came. It came multiple times, and each time, Liverpool were ready. The question Tottenham must now answer is whether they are willing to evolve or whether they will continue down this path, accepting that their ceiling is limited by their unwillingness to adapt. That is not a football question. That is a philosophical question. And philosophical questions do not have easy answers. What is clear is that this defeat was not an accident. It was not bad luck. It was not a matter of individual mistakes or momentary lapses. It was the logical outcome of a tactical approach that prioritizes identity over pragmatism, style over result, and principle over adaptation. Liverpool did not create this vulnerability. They simply recognized it and exploited it. The scoreline will be forgotten. The performance will fade from memory. But the lesson will remain. In modern football, tactical purity without tactical flexibility is a luxury that only the most dominant teams can afford. Tottenham are not yet dominant enough to afford it. Until they are, matches like this will continue to expose the gap between who they want to be and who they actually are. Postecoglou's refusal to bend his system is either the mark of a visionary who will eventually be proven right, or the stubbornness of a coach who will be replaced before his philosophy can mature, and this match offered no evidence for the former.